Well, I did get a scholarship to go to Sydney Girls High, actually, and I was very thrilled about it. Only two of us, Ivy Russell and June Smith, and we were given a scholarship. Ivy Russell's father wouldn't let her go because she'd be going to school at work in 2 years anyway, with depression kids. And Dad didn't think it was much for Rosie to go through the city anyway. So they sent me out to Riverside Girls Domestic Science School, where I learned to make meringues with 2 eggs on a plate with a fork.
And how long were you at that school?
3 years. 3 years there, and we got the intermediate certificate. I was recommended to go to Burwood Girls High, which had the 5-year leaving certificate in those days. But no, it was best for Rosie to get a job. So Rosie got a job first job was in a shipping company, Blue Star Line. And it was so sad because I used to have to post on all the letters that came to the able seamen that worked on the merchant navy boats. And then some of them would come in for any letters. They might have been all around the world, and they'd come into the shipping company in Bridge Street, Sydney, and they'd say, any letters for different ones, and I'd have a pile on the desk, and I'd go through the box, and all these sad letters had all these, how you post on to next place. Very rarely did any of them, and they were such sad looking guys. I mean, fellows in navy uniforms have a certain prestige and a certain prosperity, but guys in the merchant navy, they have no uniform, they're poorly paid, poorly fed, and you could always tell they'd come from the very, very poorly parts of the docks around England. You know, they'd have bad teeth, they'd have bad skin, and they were sad, sort of, very respectful but sad guys. It used to break my heart and I couldn't give them a letter. I wish I could fabricate one for them.
And that was your first job. How old were you?
I was about 14 and a half, going on 15. And then I got a bit sick of that. I used to do a lot of messages. That's where I really learned all about Sydney, all down around the wharves, and of course I used to deliver manifestos and shipping documents. I got a bit sick of that, and then I went to Halifax Insurance Company. I put my age up because I looked older than I was. Put my age up. That's where I met Johnny Clark. Billy joined up the minute he turned 16 or put his age up. He's a big guy, so he was passed for it. He looked okay, you know. He wasn't young up here. Well, he was. He was just ready for anything. And he had an apprenticeship. He'd tried various things. They tried him in a rather expensive business course. That didn't work. And Dad had got him an apprenticeship at Maud Stock, which meant it really was a protected industry. But he came home with the papers for Mum and Dad to sign. And I think I told you, Dad said, I will not sign your papers, you will not go. And Mum said, I'll sign. He'll go under an assumed name. I want to be his next of kin. So she signed. And then Dad signed too. He could see.
At least they knew where he was all the time then. At least they knew where he
was.
was.
She said, look, he's going to go. He's a bolting horse. There's no way you're ever going to hold him. He just wanted to live, you know, do all the things that people were doing at that time. So of course Dad said, well, don't join the infantry, join some, oh no, it was where he wanted to be. So there you go. Was the episode of the Japanese submarines getting through the net into Sydney Harbour. As you know, they got through the net right up close into torpedoed an Australian Navy boat, and that night there was a great, sirens were going off, blackouts, and the air raid wardens, we had air raid wardens in every street, and they became very, at last there was something to do. You could see they were absolutely thrilled. One of them knocked on the door and made sure that all our lights were out and told us, the best thing for you to do would be to get under the strongest table you've got. And Dad looked at him from his great height and said, listen mate, no one tells me to get under a table. Everything was rationed. If you, it's interesting. Now, Johnny, napery, that's like tables, tablecloths and doilies, that's called napery. Now, that wasn't rationed. Now, Johnny Clark, she was a very dainty little figure. She used to nick up to these tablecloth shops and she would buy 2 or 3 very nice tablecloths. You know how they have a same colour, like a pale green or pale pink, and then she'd make herself a skirt and a little blouse, tops, nice, she'd look suits. They made from the tablecloth shop. Small girls could get away with it. They'd make themselves, and everything, materials. You couldn't, you had your clip, they would cut out your coupons from your book. And in your book you also had butter coupons and coupons for sugar and tea.